A few reissues arose from just yesterday from my last video. Quite a few questions and comments that I guess I need to respond to. So I figured I would make another video about the coronavirus and also about the JFK video that will be coming out May 16th. Somebody made the comment and made the very good point that if people start wearing masks, they might start getting complacent, might think that just because they're wearing a mask, they can start going to their normal day. And that was not obviously my point. That would be a negative outcome of wearing a mask. The mask supposedly helps you out, according to European experts that have already gone through this, helps you out about 50%. 50% is not enough. 50% is still, it's like if you go out twice wearing a mask, one of those two times you could have gotten the virus. So it's not a fix. It's not it's the mask. It's not supposed to fix anything other than slightly improve your chances of not bringing the virus home to your family, to your household. So I should have specified, and I think I probably did, but I don't remember. But according to the comments, apparently I didn't. I should have specified the first step to keeping your household virus free is to not go out. Do not go out unless absolutely having to. And if you have to, if there's people where you're going, wear a mask. Wear a mask. Do not take your kids. I've gone out with my mask and I've seen kids, families, complete families, parents with kids walking along. So the first step is don't go out unless absolutely necessary. And if you do go out to where there's people, wear a mask. And then just keep your distance. Just because you're wearing a mask does not mean you're covered. You're covered ever so slightly more than if you're not wearing a mask. Some also make the point that most people won't wear the mask properly. And I've actually seen that where they just pull their mask constantly down to talk to people. Well, then you're not really wearing a mask. So if you're properly wearing the mask, it improves your chances of not bringing the virus home ever so slightly. The first step is to not go out. And even if you do go out, and even if you're wearing a mask, you still need to keep your distance. Hopefully that cleared up my earlier mistake. After the interview, I'm going to describe a few things related to the JFK assassination. It occurred to me, since the JFK assassination hasn't been in the news lately, and there hasn't been any movies or new documentaries in a while, that most people may not be aware of just how complicated or confusing the events surrounding the JFK assassination actually are. Maybe people today think it's a pretty straightforward, easy to explain murder, and all this conspiracy theorists that still are out there researching, trying to find the evidence that will prove their side, that maybe they're just wasting their time. And the honest to goodness truth is that it is extremely complicated, that there is, at first glance, when I first started trying to figure it out for myself, there is, at first glance, contradictory evidence implying, or at least making one suspect that there was a conspiracy. It's not until I got very much into it and ultimately found new evidence that, at least in my opinion, proves beyond a reasonable doubt that Lee Harvey Oswald, not only did he act alone, but he did it from the 6th floor corner window as described by the Warren Commission. But when I first started my own research, I was actually pretty convinced that there was a conspiracy. A lot of people, when they start doing this kind of research, a mistake that will probably be common is that they don't let the evidence change their minds. That they're very sure one side or the other, the conspiracy theorist or the Warren Commission side, because they don't let the evidence change their mind, then their conclusions will be flawed. Even if they reach the right conclusion, if the process on how they got there is flawed, then their conclusions, even though by pure coincidence might be right, it does not carry the same weight. So it matters how you reach a conclusion. It matters that you were open to the truth. It matters that you force yourself to be open to either possibility. If you come to it with the mindset that there was no conspiracy, then you're making the same error as the people that come to it saying that there was a conspiracy and it couldn't have been Lee Harvey Oswald acting by himself. So what I've done, I created a list of videos to watch that are available on YouTube. Then in the description of this video, I created a playlist, and I'll try to create two playlists. One that's pro, that's pro conspiracy, and another one that's pro that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. And I would suggest you watch first the one that's for conspiracy. I'll list them in that order because a lot of the questions that are ignored by the Warren Commission that are legitimate questions are stated by the conspiracy theorist side. And the one thing, if somebody was to ask me which side comes closest to the truth, I would say neither, because both sides have to ignore evidence to stick to their conclusions. They have to either ignore legitimate questions or they have to jump to somewhat extraordinary conclusions. For example, and I fully understand that not all conspiracy theorists believe this, but that the reason Officer Pittman was shot and killed was to be able to duplicate JFK's body and use it for the autopsy. That is obviously ridiculous. That not even today do they have that ability to be able to duplicate two bodies to make them where even their families won't be able to distinguish them. That has never been the case, and even still is not the case. Or for example, that there were two Lee Harvey Oswalds, that in some images it's the actual Lee Harvey Oswald that we all know, and on another images or pictures or even school records that is a completely different Oswald. That is not the case. There was only one Lee Harvey Oswald, and there were pictures where, like everybody else, he gained weight and lost weight and looked slightly different, just like everybody else. Everybody gains weight and loses weight, or everybody has ugly haircuts and stuff. So the idea that there were two Oswalds is too fantastic to be the truth, which is a mistake that some conspiracy theorists go through. But on the Warren Commission side, there's legitimate questions that they don't even bother to answer. For example, what I think is the most legitimate and the answer that should have been answered, the question that should have been answered many years ago, was why did Lee Harvey Oswald shoot the president? They just simply jumped to the conclusion that he did it for fame. Well, that has never made any kind of sense. If Lee Harvey Oswald had simply killed the president to become famous, why did he deny being the assassin? Why did he refer to himself as a patsy? Why didn't he just simply stay in the 6th floor corner window and wait for the cops to show up? It does not make sense. And in fact, the evidence contradicts that assumption. So there's, like I said earlier, there's mistakes on both sides. I ultimately agree that it was Lee Harvey Oswald acting alone, but I don't leave those questions unanswered. Pretty much all the questions, the legitimate questions that people ask and that require an answer. In the upcoming video for next month, I answer the question of motive. I answer the question of why did the head go back into the left. I fix the magic bullet theory or the single bullet theory, which is the main reason why most people do not believe that there was one shooter, because of the flaws within that theory. And I fix it. I honestly think I do actually fix it. I even answer the questions of after the fact in the 70s or 80s or maybe even 90s, I don't remember, CIA agents came out and confessed to being part of the conspiracy to kill the president. Are these CIA agents just crazy that they make that up? Well, I answer the question of why they're mistaken. I even answer the question, well, I don't want to keep answering all the questions that I'm going to answer in that video. But the thing is that I think my solution or resolution to the JFK assassination is a more legitimate resolution than even the Warren Commission. I answer the questions that they didn't bother to even ask. I answer the questions that books that I've read left open. For example, the Case Closed by what's your name? Case Closed by this guy, Gerald Posner. He made it pretty thick and still was able to avoid answering those big questions that require an answer. So, like I said earlier, This is like a prep, I guess, if you're truly interested and want to know finally what happened in Dealey Plaza 50 some years ago. Some of the answers will be in that video, but to prepare yourself to be able to know why I'm answering those questions, I highly suggest you watch the videos listed in the description of this YouTube video. I would suggest to watch the JFK movie by Oliver Stone first, if possible. I haven't been able to find it in any of the streaming services. And then after that, I would highly suggest you watch and it's available on YouTube, The Men Who Killed Kennedy. I think parts of it is available on YouTube. Hopefully all of it. I'll create a playlist as well and put it on the description. And then after that, after you're fully confused and are fully aware of how these people just didn't give the public that much of credit and just kind of pushed their theory on the public, and then later on they ask, well, why don't people still believe that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone? Well, because you did a shitty job. So anyways though, and then after you're done, like I was trying to describe, when you're fully confused, then you should watch CBS News Inquiry, The Warren Report, which is also available on YouTube. I created a playlist that's on the description. It's quite a few hours of things to watch. And then when you're done watching that, then I would highly suggest you watch my video. And fairly sure that my video will make more sense if you go through that process. But go with the mindset that you're going to make up your mind according to the evidence, that you're not going to make the mistake that the other side makes, whichever side you might be on, the conspiracy side or the Warren Commission side. You're not going to make the mistake of not letting the evidence change your mind. So, I guess that's it.